It's the Fifth Mascot. It's the second edition, and it's only on WCPO.com. With PJ O'Keefe, I'm Ken Brew. Second edition, same old, same old, same old. The team that you called last week the single greatest collection of baseball talent in the history of mankind has now won a grand total of, wait on it, 23 games. Explain yourself.
Putting words in my mouth.
Well, there you go. I'm pretty good at that.
No, and it's you're right. It's the same old, but you can't overlook some of the positives. Friday night against the Cardinals, you could argue that they manhandled that Cardinals team on all facets of the field, despite 5-3. You know, nothing exuberant as far as runs scored go. But for the Reds, they came in. It looks like they owned the game. There appeared to be some congruency throughout the lineup. And for the record, I said they were the best baseball team since 2013.
Look. This is what they do well. They win one game in a three-game series, and invariably that one game is against the number 3 or number 4 starter in the rotation. When you get to Wainwright and you get to guys that they faced in Los Angeles this week, when you get to the top of the rotation in places like Milwaukee, they can't handle those pitchers. They can't.
Well, and that's something that you can make an argument about, and I will to save my butt from last week here. The pitching has been outstanding, especially the starting pitching that they've gone up against on the last couple of days here. And you can't overlook that. These are guys that are coming out that are Cy Young candidates. I mean, Zach Greinke of the LA Dodgers is in the top 5 of an ERA in the league. Mm-hmm.
They didn't even see not A.J. Burnett, the other guy that was with him in the Marlins. The guy threw the no-hitter a couple of days ago. They didn't even see Josh Beckett.
That's right. No, they didn't. They didn't see Beckett. And he's an up-and-down guy. He's just like Homer Bailey, so you never know with him. But Clayton Kershaw, I mean, these are not guys to be taken lightly. So, yes, we're struggling. And yes, there's an offensive deficiency.
100 and how many runs? 177 runs, or 28th out of 30 Major League Baseball teams. You're not going to win a box of matches doing that.
Probably not, even if it's free at the bar down the street. Yeah, and something to point out that I am going to have to just be defeated a little bit about.
Don't be defeated.
They're on pace.
Be chastened, but not defeated.
Yeah, they're on pace to score the fewest amount of runs since 1982, and you look at that team in 1982.
Who was on that team?
You had guys like Johnny Bench. You had guys like Davey Concepcion.
Yeah.
These were not unproven guys.
Right.
And it's eerily...
And 6 guys named Fred.
It's 6 guys named Fred and 1 named Billy. It's eerily similar to the way that lineup was set up, relying on a specific set of talent, hoping that it gets you through. And Johnny Bench that year, he only played 119 games. But it's eerily similar to this team.
Are they sending you into the game?
That means we have to move on. This is my cue. Yeah.
Jay Bruce is a shell of himself. Jay Bruce, who's back-to-back Silver Slugger awards. I mean, this guy was, the definition of a power-hitting for average outfielder the last 2 years. This year, it looks like it's his first day in long pants. What's going on with him?
He's definitely regressed, but I said this last week. I'm going to stick to it because you can't avoid it. The injury factor. Jay's not himself. He wasn't himself at the beginning of this year. He isn't himself now. He's missing his most important month. He thrives, in May.
Yeah.
He's traditionally always hit around 280, 290, puts about 12 bombs over the fence, and he's got setbacks right now that you can't get around. And I think he looks awkward up at the plate. I think that's his body telling him.
Yeah.
There's something wrong.
I think he's missing Votto. I think this guy with Votto is good. I think this guy without Votto, we're finding out, I think, maybe is not as good as we thought he was. When you only have, and you look at that lineup right now without Votto, the only bat that really and truly anybody's scared of in that lineup, and they shouldn't be all that scared, is Brandon Phillips. If you don't have Votto, if Bruce doesn't have Votto, it's like peanut butter without jelly. It's like Ozzie without Harriet.
Well, and you can look at some surprising turnouts this year so far.
Try to come up with a reference maybe that isn't 50 years old.
No, it's okay. Yeah. The younger folks will understand that one. You look at guys like Devin Mesoraco, who's a pleasant surprise this year. He's played out of his mind. I think he's starting to get to pitchers. Pitchers know that they have to battle him now, and he's been behind Jay since Jay's been back. And there's something to be said there that you got a guy to set you up, but Bruce just needs to heal. I can't put it any other way. Regardless, he has a good hitter behind him. Just like missing Votto in front of him, he just needs to heal.
Let's talk about the amount of baseballs that are coming flying in from left field. Let's talk
from the Goodyear blimp.
Let's talk about this. It's not like Bob Castellini has gone cheap in this thing. I mean, he's invested money in Phillips, in Votto, and Bruce, and runners in scoring position. I'm sorry, $250 million, Phillips $72 million, Bruce $56 million. Those things are atrocious. Now, if I'm Bob Castellini, where's my return on this dollar? You know what I'm doing? I'm getting Walt Jockey in a room and slapping him upside the head with a skillet. What are you doing with my money?
Yeah, and this was set up a few years ago, right? You know, there were contracts signed far before we got to this point. So there's really a lot of factors in this. You can't just point to it this year and say, oh, well, that investment hasn't been worth it.
Right.
You know, there are guys like Bruce who are in this for the long haul. And if you look at his numbers, he has progressively gotten better each year. And that's why he's been that Silver Slugger recipient. He faces a challenge this year in Yasiel Puig and Giancarlo Stanton. But it's back to that heel factor. You can't point to contracts necessarily and say, okay, you know, Phillips, you're not performing right now. You're not worth the $70 million that we're willing to pay you over the other 6 years. These guys have performed at other times, and you can't look at that solely. You look at the roles that they're playing, and that's where we can kind of nitpick about what it is that's wrong with where they fit and how they're. And you go back to the Bruce and Votto duo there in the middle of the lineup. Without that, you're right, we suffer. But really, you know, without Votto this year, one interesting stat. The Reds average about 3.48 runs per game with Votto. They average about 3.2 without him. Not much of a difference there. So there's got to be something else that needs to be shuffled to figure this out. It's not that long-term perspective that we need to put a microcosm on this year.
I think if it doesn't work out this year, they're going to blow it up. But I think they keep two of those three guys. I think obviously they keep Bruce and they keep Votto. Phillips, if this goes on for another month, he's a deadline deal. He's going somewhere for two guys that probably are going to be selling insurance in a month.
Let's talk about Phillips because there was a game on Memorial Day against the Dodgers. It was looking grim. It was after the Cardinal series. We were down and out through that series. You know, we've lost something like 7 or 8 consecutive series against the Cardinals. And Memorial Day, we go to LA, really quick turnaround, White, jumping over to the West Coast. Yeah. And it looked bad early on. Ryu pitched almost a perfect game through the 7th inning. And then this team suddenly picked each other up. Everybody rallied, scored 3 runs. Billy Hamilton earned his paycheck for the year on a double to right field. Looking at Phillips, he was up with guys in scoring position in that same inning to propel them either to a tie or the lead.
Right.
And he struck out.
So what you're saying is he doesn't produce when games are on the line. But again, last night he had a 2-run home run. Early in that game, it set the tone for the evening, I thought. But it's not happening enough. I think that's what you're saying. You're saying that, yeah, he's a threat, but when you really and truly need him, it's like guys that get hot in August and September for teams that are out of it. And everybody says, well, he hit 260. Yeah, but when games mattered, he hit 110. Exactly.
And those runners in scoring position numbers are very self-evident. But what Phillips does for the rest of the lineup, he's a target right now. As you mentioned, with the injuries, he's the guy that pitchers are bringing their best stuff for. They're saving their 97 miles an hour. They're saving the curveballs. But he's still managing to get on base and still managing to produce somewhat. You look at Wednesday's game, again in L.A., against a guy like Clayton Kershaw. Yeah. He did produce. He hit a home run, and he performed in the field as he always does. But he got a little bit of redemption. So you kind of see that ebb and flow of, poor when it's counting, but really good otherwise. And it's something that just needs to be fixed.
Am I missing something here with these baseballs?
Oh, I'm playing catch with our producer.
So that means move on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about white or red meat. Can we talk about that?
No, are we talking pork or poultry?
Well, at Cincinnati, let's talk pork.
That would only make sense.
See, here's my problem here's my problem about all of this is I don't know whether or not the Cardinal series. I don't know if that's indicative of what this team is all about and what it can do. I mean, when you get a really good team in here, and they have faced some good pitching in the last couple of series, I don't know whether or not because of that, this team is exactly like it's been in years past, where when you play good teams, it doesn't really do all that well. It beats up on the weak sisters. It's just not beaten up or hasn't played enough weak teams yet. April was a grind. May was a little bit better. It's going to even off here towards the end of the year, but by then it may not matter. The difference, I think, may be scheduling this year and the fact that they're not beating up on the weaker teams.
Yeah, and you look at the NL Central in particular, right? And it's just this mismatch of who's doing what. I mean, you got some Cubs pitchers who are leading the league The starting pitchers are leading the league in ERA, but it's only a matter of time when their offense kicks in, and you got the Brewers who just came out of nowhere this year, and yes, they're settling in to where they should be. But are the Reds better than the Milwaukee Brewers right now? And we know they're not better than the Cardinals. That's been proven 3 series this year and 12 series the last 3 years. But that's going to be, I think, the hurdle now. Are you better than a Brewers team who last year, and Ryan Braun is one piece of the puzzle, who did come back, but last year we're nowhere to be found. Are we better than that team? I don't know. I can't put my finger on it.
I know
yet.
you're so positive, and I don't mean to bring you down, PJ, but I'm having a tough time latching on to anything here. I think they missed the boat in the offseason with trying to acquire some sort of hitter or hitters that could move the line along a little bit. Because of that, they struggle when they're at the plate. I think they've got great pitching, but they should have parted with some of that in the offseason for something that could just reinvigorate this offense. It's just stagnant.
From a financial perspective, Homer Bailey was sort of a, huh?
Yeah, I didn't get that.
And that was one of those moves that the Reds are trying to set themselves up for down the road.
Well, that was their red meat.
Yes.
That was like they were going for it.
That was
full
the fillet.
fangs in.
That was the fillet.
That was the fillet. But the white meat, I don't know where that is, because in this case, pork is not the other white meat.
It's injured. But speaking of white meat, some very delicious white meat was out and about in downtown Cincinnati.
I mean, Mr. Satin.
Yes.
Our partner in crime.
Our correspondent.
Where was he?
He was down at Taste.
He didn't
of
get mugged,
Cincinnati.
did he?
Not yet,
Good.
no. Or not that we heard of.
Okay, good. That's a plus.
Amongst that mayhem, yeah. Our correspondent, Mr. Satin, was down and about at Taste of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
He was trying out the various dishes there and ran into some people and asking what they thought about some very particular food. Go ahead and take a look.
Hey, what's happening? It's Mr. Satin down here for the Fifth Mascot. We're down here at Taste of Cincinnati, checking out the portalette system. Looks like we got this stuff unlocked. We're gonna go check out Cardinal meat-eating fans. Some of my favorite foods down here involve the Cardinal. I love the Cardinal wings, spicy, teriyaki, Cardinal soft taco, lightly glazed. You haven't tried that yet then?
No, I've not tried it yet.
Any Cardinal meat at all? I know you guys are big red bird eaters.
No.
No red bird?
No, we don't eat them. We revere.
What? Well, we eat a lot of them here. I tell you what. You are from St. Louis.
I am from St. Louis. I came all the way here to see this game tonight.
All right, so what's your favorite part of Taste Cincinnati?
The food, all the Italian food.
With a little bit of Cardinal bird in it? What?
No.
Well, what's your favorite dish here?
I really like that. What was it? Bella Luna. They had
good.
really good Italian food.
What if I told you were secretly eating Cardinal bird in that?
Walk away from you right now. This interview's over.
So I'm understanding you're a Cardinal fan. Is this correct?
Yes.
Why? Have you tried the cranberry and Cardinal sauce yet?
No.
What about the snow cone with the Cardinal wing in it?
No.
No? Have you tried the Cardinal burger?
I did try the Reds burger.
Ah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I threw up after that.
What? Have you tried the Cardinal chili yet?
Nah, I haven't came across that.
What if I told you what you're eating right now has Cardinal beets in it? What is your favorite Cardinal dish down here at Taste of Cincinnati?
I prefer my Cardinal skewered.
Any glaze on there? Any sort of a sauce?
Maybe a little Caribbean jerk or something spicy.
Ooh, I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it. So you don't like Cardinal meat?
That is so vulgar.
Yes, it is. No?
No, the Cardinal.
That's right! Go Reds! Go Reds!
Go Cards.
Go Reds!
Mr. Satin joins us on set now. All I can say is this: after watching that, St. Louis people that live there, they're humorless. I would be too if I lived in St. Louis. It's like living in Cleveland.
Yeah, they just, I don't know, they didn't realize what was hitting them.
Yeah.
The power of Mr. Satin.
I think they live in fear, probably that arch hitting them.
Yeah.
That could
Yeah.
just
About
wipe
to
out,
fall over at
like
any moment.
Godzilla wiping out the city.
You know, it's sort of like in the way from here to getting out west.
It is
You
in
know,
a
I mean,
way.
it's just like push it away and
Right.
just keep going.
Some
I mean,
call it the
it's,
gateway city. We call it the roadblock.
Yeah,
Right,
the in the way city. I feel
Yes,
like
absolutely.
you know, yeah.
Mr.
And they've always been in our ways.
Your thoughts on this Cardinal series? Because I was at that game on Sunday night, and I was just bummed just watching this whole thing. Please enlighten us how you found it.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know, out of the gate, I thought we were the best. You know, we're the best fielding team right now. I don't understand it. We kind of looked a little sloppy out there, but you know what? On a positive note, we got guys like Frazier doing all right. We got Billy Hamilton. I still, you know, we got a lot of bums too.
Yeah.
But I'm still excited about this team. I got to tell you.
Tell me about the bums. Who do you consider bums, Mr. Satt?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question.
Let's talk.
The bums. Well, right now it's that middle relief right now.
Give me a name.
Give you a name.
Accuse.
Well,
Jay.
Manny Parra.
Jay
Bruce.
He's not middle relief.
Well, I mean,
he might be better than the middle.
Yeah,
relief.
let's send him in. I don't know.
Yeah, he might be.
Guys like, I don't know, Manny Parra.
Parra.
That's
what he's been like. That's what he's been
oh
like.
my gosh, I'm like, no, don't send him in. Just kind of,
But I think, to be fair, because even though that this team, how about that? That was anticipation.
Hey, it was good.
That was anticipation.
I had that one, no problem.
There have been some bright spots. I mean, Mesoraco came like out of nowhere. I mean, go back a year, and everybody was saying, did they keep the wrong catcher?
Right?
Yes.
Frazier, another. I think, I don't think Todd Frazier's ever going to be a guy that's going to hit 30 home runs and drive in 90.
No.
But you give me 20, and you give me 80 RBI, 75 RBI, and you hit like I don't know. Let's just say you hit like 275. I'll take that from my third baseman.
And timely hits, too.
Right.
Friday night, Reds only win over the Cardinals. Todd Frazier was the guy that made that happen.
Right.
His home run was probably close to 500 feet to dead center.
Yeah.
And it's those kinds of hits that mean something, where you can put a guy, whether his stats add up to the next guy or not, and you can elevate him and say, you know what, you're critical to this team. And Devin Mesoraco, I know this city was attached to Ryan Hannigan. I was too. He was an extremely intelligent catcher, great defender, and even at some point a good guy getting on base.
Right.
But yeah, who would have seen this coming? Devin Mesoraco, he matured so much in just 6 months' time.
I think what they discovered last year after the 2012 season is that Hannigan was not an everyday catcher. He broke down. He's on the DL again in Tampa, and he couldn't produce. He hit right around 200.
Yeah.
This guy has got 20 RBI in 20 games. You talk about timely hitting. That's timely hitting.
He's Mr. Clutch right now, you guys. We were talking about Mr. Clutch last week. I mean, this is our Mr. Clutch right now, I think.
I worry about the early season success because these two guys, Frazier and Mesoraco, still yet unproven, right? Over the long haul.
Exactly.
They are having a great spurt right now,
Right.
but the balance has to be restored to the force at some point.
Right.
Those guys are going to come down. It's inevitable. And, you hope it's sort of an ebb and flow, where you hit the high note here, hit the low note around the All-Star game, and come back up in September if we're even in contention there. 1982 Reds, 61 wins. But
I remember wire to wire. That was a good year.
You weren't even born in '82, were you? I'll tell you somebody else
I was
too.
around.
I mean, with all due respect, Billy Hamilton, for a guy that everybody was looking at in April saying, "What's that?" I mean, he is a great weapon. The folly of Billy Hamilton right now is when he does get on base, he doesn't get in because nobody can drive in runs on this.
yeah, and he definitely causes havoc. He does.
He really
You
does.
get him on first base, regardless of the nature of it. I mean, he's gotten all kinds of ways on first base, little dribblers down the line. He's actually become a fairly decent eye at the plate. He's taking the pitches he's supposed to, and he's finding the pitches that he can hit. You know who can throw pitches that guys can hit?
Wait, I think I know where you're going with this.
Oh, my gosh.
It rhymes with Schmarlos Carmel.
Oh, my goodness. Now, in all fairness, last week you and I sat here, and Mr. Satin said, if there's any way they can pick up Carlos Marmol, that's exactly what this Reds team to do. And
Never.
my God, they listen
Never.
to you. They listen to
Wow. I tell you what, this guy is the biggest gutless wonder ever.
you. Gutless wonder.
Godless.
I just remember him just pitching for the Cubs, I don't know, it seemed like decades ago, and how terrible. He would get in and they'd be up by 5 runs and he'd walk the bases loaded and just serve up a meatball. Literally, you could see spices and marinara just running off of it. And they licking their chops just
But
out.
for about
gone.
15 minutes, this guy was pretty good and made a lot of money off those 15 minutes.
He did. Back in 2007, 2008, the guy had an ERA floating around 2.5. He made a name for himself very early on in his career, and you got to wonder if that residual effect, kind of like guys like Manny Parra, who had this up and down beginning of the career, was fading. He came into the team last year and ended up performing. So is this a situation where we get a Marmol, raise him in the minors a little bit, get him groomed down there with Corky Miller, who, by the way, will be an excellent person to coach such a pitcher?
This is true. I'll give you that.
Let's wait on that.
I'll give you that.
By the way, we weren't even going to talk about this today, but we had one of our Twitter stalkers suggested we do this. By the way, you can follow us on Twitter. It's the hashtag Fifth Mascot spelled out. But they asked, they said, what do you think of the pickup of Marmol? I can't imagine. Well, I think it's kind of like, let's just see if there's anything left on this guy, or can he put the glove on the right hand and try throwing left-handed?
I like that.
Yeah,
I think
that
that's
could be
a pretty good idea.
I think that could happen.
Why not?
There's not much of a worst-case scenario, though. If you look at our rotation right now, I got the numbers in front of me here.
Oh,
Some of the guys
Jeez.
on the Reds relief team who you got ERAs. There are 4 pitchers with ERAs under 5. What does that tell you? Curtis Parch has been one of our top performers. Only 4 innings
Right.
pitched, but Curtis Parch.
Right.
So you think
He's
about
pitching
it.
in Columbus this weekend.
Well, and good for him. You got to make it somehow.
Road trip.
I mean, guys like J.J. Hoover who have been better, but is Marmol worse than Hoover so far? Is Marmol worse than Andrusic? Is Marmol worse than Christiani?
Right. I mean, you got 2 guys in that bullpen you can trust. You can trust LeCure, and you can trust Chapman. And after that, I don't trust anybody down there, even Broxton. Don't trust him at all. But here's a question, though. I mean, you talk about that bullpen. They've really not been worked a lot because the starters have been pitching deep into a game. Imagine if you get into a situation where a starter flames out after like 3 1/3, 3 2/3 innings, but all of a sudden you got to tap into guys like Hoover and Christiani and guys that are there that haven't really been overworked. It's just when you work them, they're no good.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. Alfredo Simon, naturally, when Matt Latos comes back, will help bolster that.
Yeah.
But there's still a ton of holes there, and we got to worry about it. We really, really do.
So that means we must move on. I said to wait on it. Now we got it.
We got it.
Corky. What is Corky doing down in Louisville? Give us an update, if you would, please, on what Corky has been up to.
Corky's been much like the rest of the Cincinnati Reds. He's come across a little bit of injury trouble.
He gets paid down there too, right? I mean, it's not like he's working for free.
He gets paid in gum.
He does.
Concession
He
stands?
gets paid in stash wax.
In Major League Chew. No, he's he's only batting 190, but he's been in the DL for a little bit. The temporarily unable to play list is the official term for it right now.
How long do you think it would take you to grow a stash like Bam Bam Bigelow? I mean Corky Miller.
I would say 3.5 weeks.
How about you?
Oh man, I'm still working on it. This is like years.
Yeah, I know.
Years.
It's not happening. I mean, it's a good stash. It's like a 70s, early 80s porn
Very
stash,
crafted.
but it's okay.
Very crafted.
Yeah.
It's retro.
Do you know much about that?
I don't know. No, I just only know.
All right.
I only know what PJ tells me.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is I think it needs to be. I think maybe he might want. If he comes into forget about the 2000s. If he comes into like the 90s with that look, it might help his batting average. I gotta believe he's standing up there. He can't see from the facial here because you got hair and then you got bugs and all that. Last night's dinner in there,
especially in Louisville off the river.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of guts for a guy like that to wear a mustache like that. And Corky, we love you. We still want you on the Cincinnati Reds Major League Ball Club. And we hope that the Reds can make that decision soon.
7.5 out of first as we speak, 4.5 behind in the wild card race. Where are they quickly next week? We reconvene next week.
They'll be up in Arizona, facing off against a former teammate.
No, I mean, how far back? 7.5.
Oh, far back. Arizona has weak pitching right now. A lot of poor starters on that team. I think that we gained some ground. Hoping to break out of this little bit of slump. We were 22-24, and it looked like things were going to turn around until we hit that Cardinals weekend bump. So I feel like when we get the lesser pitching under the belt, we can make something happen.
Where are they a week from now?
I like that. I want to say we need a 4-game streak. We need we need a winning streak right now.
We do.
I don't want to. I want to be positive here. Let's get 4 from Arizona and get out of there.
I'm going to make this prediction. You can hold it to me when we reconvene next Thursday. The Reds will be 2 games out of the wild card spot when we meet next week, which means they'll pick up some ground on the division leader too.
You heard it here first.
I'm encouraged. I really am. For Mr. Satin, for PJ O'Keefe, I'm Ken Brew, back here next Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, and only on WCPO.com. It's the Fifth Mascot.